Get ready for all the craziness of small business. It's exactly that craziness that makes it exciting and totally unbelievable. Small Business Radio is now on the air with your host, Barry Moltz.
Well, thanks for joining this week's radio show. Remember, this is the final word in small business. For those keeping track, this is now incredibly show number 579. This episode is provided by Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. It's also sponsored by LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. We're also provided by vCita, all you need to run your business in one software. Try for free at www.vcita.com. That's VCITA.com, and use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. Well, many of us have become small business owners by accident. You know, I never wanted to be a small business owner. When I first started out in the early 80s, I wanted to be president of IBM. But for me, I then got tired of my boss there, who promoted incompetent people over myself. So I struck it on my own. My next guest is also an accidental entrepreneur. Marcus Babcock started out as a personal trainer at a big box gym when he was 20, which eventually led to striking out his own, running a mobile studio, and eventually formed a partnership with a fellow personal trainer by the time he was 24. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Barry. How's it going today?
It's good. I find for most small business owners, if we knew actually what we were in for, we probably never would have struck out on our own because it's just way too crazy.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of the dream mindset in the beginning. Like, I get to be my own boss and everything else comes second.
So why is that? Is that because we read all these things about these great, incredible success stories and we think we're going to be the next Michael Dell or Bill Gates?
Yeah, exactly. I think in some people's cases, like myself, it's forced onto them. So I actually ended up getting laid off at the big box gym and had to become a small business owner. But then just the dream of, hey, now my future is really in my control, and I'm very confident myself, and I'm going to make this thing big.
And of course, that's the dream. Like, okay, now I work for myself. I can work anytime I want to with anybody that I want to. It's going to be fantastic. I control over my own life, but it doesn't quite turn out that way, does it?
Yeah, no, not quite. You find yourself working more hours, less pay, more expenses, and you're not like really doing the fun stuff anymore. You're not doing the stuff that you were doing beforehand, which in my case was actually doing the training with the people. It was more about the marketing and bringing new people on and organizing and all of that.
And I think that's the most difficult part of having your own business, because most of us get started to solve a problem, help a customer, but we don't realize there's all this other stuff, right, around running a business. As you said, marketing, keeping track of who's paid, who hasn't paid, setting up appointments, all the other things that kind of get in the way of actually doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. It was very humbling. I was like, oh yeah, I can definitely, track money on my own. I can organize my calendar on my own. I can keep track of all my clients on pieces of paper or in my head. And then it actually started scaling, and I'm going, whoa, I'm spending 12 hours a day trying to manage the business, and then it felt like another 12 hours doing the actual training.
And that's a real big issue. You said when you scale. Tell us about your journey and how it all worked out.
Absolutely. So when I was in the big box gym, I had like 8 or 9 clients, which was a good load for me. I was also doing full-time college at the time too. And then
that other little thing called college, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just mixed in there. And then when I struck out on my own, I actually took a year off college and decided to kind of grow that business. At first, I was like, I'm going to go out mobile. I'm going to eventually grow to the point where I'm going to hire on people, because that was my idea of scaling. And what I never realized is, A, hiring somebody on is pretty expensive, and B, it's not as clean of a scale as some people may think. It's not like you just grow until you hire somebody and then they grow and then you hire somebody else. It's more about juggling everything.
And so how did you try to start to juggle things? What was your first attempt at doing that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the good old Excel spreadsheet. I started getting people's names in, and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I can't remember who this person is or when this appointment was and when I should remind them. So I opened up Microsoft and started making an Excel spreadsheet of everybody's names, how much they've paid me, when their next appointments were due, how many sessions they had left, and when I should remind them.
You know, this is interesting, Marcus, because that is really where everyone starts. Obviously, people used to start on paper, right? But now more, as I say, modern or computer-savvy people, they open up an Excel spreadsheet. And Excel's good for a lot of things, but fairly soon it does have its limitations, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I got really good at Excel. You know, I could do macros and conditional formatting and stuff, but it has its limitations. It can't be organized as effectively. There's not really a whole lot of automation unless you really start getting in there and start coding off Visual Basic.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day,
Visual Basic. There's another thing I want to do while I run my business. Let's learn Visual Basic.
Yeah. Just add on another thing while I'm going to college and learning and actually running a business. And then you spend time developing some sort of hybrid app out of an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say the hybrid app. I find out that people then go from the Excel spreadsheet, they go towards an app for this, an app for that, right? So they'll go for an app for collecting their money. Then they'll go for an app for scheduling, and they'll go for an app for something else. And that's okay for a while, but pretty soon you have all these different apps and none of them talk to each other, and it becomes its own kind of mess, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost hoarding or collecting the best of the best
Exactly.
apps, right? You say,
I'm an app hoarder.
Yeah, exactly. You go, hey, this scheduling tool is awesome. I'm going to get this. And then you go, whoa, this payment tool is going to do everything for me. I'm going to get this. And then, oh my gosh, this marketing tool is amazing. I'm going to get this. And then pretty soon you're spending more time, if not as much time, moving the information from your scheduling tool to manually put it into a CRM system or your payment tool or a marketing tool. And you're kind of back to square one, but you're paying more money.
Because think about what you really want to do. I mean, your case, when you're providing a service to various people, is you want to see a customer holistically, right? You want to know how often they come see you, how much they've paid you, when the next time they're coming. You want to be able to market to them based on all that information, and you can't keep porting information from one thing to the other. In fact, sometimes it's hard to get data in and out.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it doesn't sync over right away. I mean, in my case with the personal training, I wanted to have basically the folder that I would keep on paper virtual, right? So I could open up somebody's card, see what my notes were last time I talked to them, what they paid, if they actually owe me, because I don't want to give them free sessions on accident. And then I want a very personalized email I can send out to them without spending the time to actually write one out for every single person.
So what all-in-one solution, Marcus, did you turn to actually solve this problem that is so common for small business owners?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, because this was quite a few years ago now, I turned to MindBody, and that was heavy. I think I was looking for something a little bit lighter.
Right, MindBody is used by a lot of like yoga gyms, and I know that our karate school, but it's really a big application.
It is, yeah, very big application, and I think it's great for bigger gyms, and it wasn't for me, so I trialed that out, moved on to something else, and then eventually ended up partnering up with a bunch of trainers, and started just kind of using best-of-breed apps, like we said, collecting them and hoarding them, and kind of going back, if I could tell myself some advice now, it would be looking more something like the apps that we have now, like Visita.
So tell us about Visita and what it does for small businesses.
Yeah, so Visita is going to be really that end-to-end business management part where a lead can come in through the funnel and the scheduling or the contact tool that's on like a website, on your social media, on your landing page, and they're going to fill out information that you're going to capture inside the CRM automatically. So the system will automatically tell you have a new appointment, or remind you and the client, and then their information gets put into that CRM system, that contact management tool. There you're able to keep any sort of private notes on them. You can share and receive documents through there. You can charge, you can take payments. It manages the whole life cycle of the client on that end. And then it kicks their information out to the marketing tool as well. So you can trigger out automated messages out to these people and some manual announcements. And it's pretty personalized without really doing much work.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people, a lot of small business owners see finding the customer, right? Providing the service to the customer, and then trying to stay in touch with that customer to provide them a service again. They see those as really separate functions in their organization. But the successful small business owners, they're able to track it, as you said, all the way from identification of that prospect through customer to repeat customer. That's so critical because we all know, Marcus, it's so much easier to get another sale from a current customer than find a new one.
Yeah, and it's a lot less expensive to market towards an existing customer than a new one, right? If you're letting all of those current clients fall through the cracks, you're literally throwing away money.
So tell us a little about what else you've found out, what kind of analytics, because that's really a buzzword now. I mean, some people call it big data, but I think in a small business, it's not necessarily big data. But what, too many times we don't sit back and say, let's learn about our customers, what works and what doesn't work. What have you learned from using Visita?
Yeah, so for Visita, it kind of caters to the three different types of business owners. I think when you start a business, you fall into kind of one of three categories. You either found this cool idea that you want to expand and start into a business, or you may have gotten kind of forced into it, or maybe you're like, I can do this better than my boss, right? And the cool thing about it is that VC is going to cater to whatever your weakness is. So if you're not good at organizing, then you could be using like the CRM system. And, if you don't have the organization or the CRM, you're going to be losing about 30% of your sales anyway. So by fully utilizing it, you're going to increase that. If you have online scheduling tool, you don't have to be up all the time fielding appointments or hiring a virtual assistant. And that way you're going to be able to save about 3.5 hours per week, just allowing it to do it automatically. And then you're going to increase those appointments that are actually scheduled by about 45%.
I love the idea of using these tools to really help you with your weaknesses, because I think these tools are so important for small businesses. I mean, I don't believe that everything's going to be like AI. I think you have to think less self-driving cars and more like bionic limbs. These tools are kind of like your jetpack, right? To make your business more profitable and better.
Exactly. Yeah. Going back to what I did when I first started out is I took time to actually learn Visual Basic, right? I tried to teach myself to increase those weaknesses. But like you said, if I were to able just to augment myself and have a bionic arm instead, it's going to be quicker, more efficient, and more powerful.
I mean, in my day, we had to go back and learn assembler or Fortran or something like that. So if you had to do it all over again, what would you have done differently?
I'd have been a little bit more organized and started off with a little bit better of a plan versus just jumping into it. And really figured out what my software stack was going to be. I didn't realize it was going to be such an important thing for me. Figuring out what tools I actually need to do to get things done, but then think of it in terms of time saving and not necessarily best rated apps.
It's interesting for me because I think that's the real advantage of having all of these cloud applications where you can really bite off as much as you want to chew at that point in time. When I was running companies in the 90s, you had to make these big investments and bring these big applications in with all this hardware. Now, for a small number of dollars per month, you can start with the marketing function or the scheduling function or the financial function or whatever it is, and then expand to the other things, and they all talk to each other. That's the beauty of all these things like Visita.
Exactly. Yeah. You grow your business and then you just upgrade what you're getting out of your software to match that growth.
And give us an idea of what Visita actually costs to do all this.
Yeah, it starts off with just an online scheduling tool at $12 per month, and it scales up from there. The most popular one is going to have a little bit of everything, and that's going to be about $45 per month.
If you think about this, you say, well, what is it worth if all your clients actually show up to their appointments? Because, if you're selling a service, all you have is selling your time. And when that customer doesn't show up, then you actually can't resell that hour. It's already passed. So if you're charging $75 an hour for your service or whatever it is, you make the $12 up right there.
Yeah. So in my case, my sessions cost $75 for the hour. And if I forgot to charge someone or somebody no-showed but didn't pay, I literally lost $75.
It's interesting you say you forgot to charge someone, and people say, oh, that's ridiculous. I'd never forget to charge anyone. But that happens all the time. You get so used to actually doing the work and providing the excellent service, you go, oh, my God, these people never paid.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it goes back to...
It's embarrassing if you think about it, but it happens all the time.
Oh, I get that brings up in a conversation every single time I talk to somebody is, oh yes, it's embarrassing to say, but I have forgotten to charge people. And if you look at it, like you said, they're so focused on being there for the customer, having like great customer support, and doing the actual work, that sometimes they forget the business side of things.
It also really amazes me, Marcus, is that people actually don't go back and try to find out, do their current clients want to come again? Especially in the training type of business, it's really great when you reach out to someone who hasn't been there in a while and say, hey, how you doing? Maybe we should get back together again. That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, looking back on it, it was amazing how many people we got to their goals. They were moving forward really nicely. And I say, hey, you know what? We can step back. I think you're ready to kind of do this on your own. And then 3 or 4 months later, they came back and like, hey, I need to go again. And it's how many of those types of people were too embarrassed to come back to me and say, you know what? I failed. I need help again. And I just didn't reach out to them and open that door for them.
That is one of the biggest problems I believe that small business owners face, and I've called it the double helix trap, is when they're actually doing the work, they're not doing any marketing. And as soon as they get some work from doing marketing, they stop doing the marketing. So you need to have something like Visita that is doing the automated marketing in the background for you, sending these emails, staying in touch, so you don't have to even think about it.
Yeah, otherwise you're just spinning your wheels. You're doing work, and then you don't got enough work, so then you're doing the marketing until you get enough work, and it's a vicious cycle. Well,
Marcus, I appreciate you being on the show. Again, if you want more information on Visita, you can go to www.visita.com. It's VCITA. You can use Barry10 for an exclusive discount. Marcus, where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, just going to our website and clicking on Get Started and schedule a demo. I'm also on LinkedIn, so Marcus Babcock, and feel free to shoot me an email too if you want to take a look at Visita, marcus@visita.com.
Marcus, thanks so much for joining us. This is AM 820 WCPT in Chicago. We'll be right back. Time and place is everything, especially when it comes to marketing. But in today's age of 1 million messages per minute and not enough hours in the day, how do you really catch people's attention? Fortunately, there's a simple way. LinkedIn can help you speak to the right professionals at the right time. With over 62 million decision makers on LinkedIn, you're able to connect with the right business leaders who are relevant to your company. And with LinkedIn ads, you can make sure your messages are getting through to these relevant people. Even small businesses are making the most of LinkedIn ads. They're using LinkedIn to get their voices heard and their messages to resonate with the audience. It's not just about awareness either. LinkedIn ads are driving traffic and engagement, whether that's visits to a landing page, registrations to an event, or downloads of that thought leadership piece. Because with precise targeting, small businesses can speak to the people that matter the most. At the end of the day, LinkedIn ads are helping smaller businesses get big results. Try it for yourself. LinkedIn is offering a free $100 LinkedIn ad credit to launch your first campaign. Simply go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. That's www.linkedin.com/SBR to claim your free $100 ad credit. Terms and conditions apply.
You've already upgraded your cell phone to a smart device, which lets you use the internet to be more productive on the go. But what about your desk phone? Nextiva is a smart business phone system in the cloud. With a simple setup through an internet connection, you can soon have access to your office communications wherever you are. Stay seamlessly connected with clients and stay more mobile than ever before with just one low monthly cost. Give your business more than just a basic desk phone. Visit Nextiva.com or call 800-799-0600 to learn more today. Nextiva. Simplifying your business communications.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moles, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Well, I always love that old marketing adage that said, I know that 50% of my marketing is actually working. I'm just not sure which 50%. Well, the good news these days about marketing on the internet and digital marketing in general is you actually can find out what works and what doesn't work. You can know what the return is for the money that you spent. The bad news is that for me and a lot of small business owners, digital marketing is a black hole where they throw a lot of money into it, but they're not really sure what's coming out. Here to help is RJ Hubert, who is the founder and managing principal of HBT Digital Consulting, which specializes in search engine and social media marketing for B2C companies looking for lead generation, online optimization. RJ, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Barry.
So why is this still such a mystery after so many years of the internet?
I think it's hard to manage everything, and it's especially hard to keep track of where your leads are coming from, which the great thing is there are some amazing tools out there that business owners should know about.
So where do you start? Because I always say, RJ, that the quickest way really to lose, $500 is to do paid advertising on social media. So where can you actually start if you're a small business owner?
The first thing you want to do is make sure you have Google Analytics set up. And that's basically installing a tracking code on your website. And what that will do is tell you exactly how people came to your website and how and by what channel. And by channel, I mean, did they come from Facebook, LinkedIn? Did they come from Google Ads? And then you'll have a great idea.
Okay, so if you have an idea where people are coming, they're either coming through some kind of search they did, or they're coming through social media, or they're coming through some referral link, then really what's the next step? Because the idea of digital marketing is I'm trying to generate online leads. Where do you start doing that?
Well, that's a great question. It comes down to your goals and where is your target audience. If you just want to be up on Google and have people searching for you, maybe you're a plumber, maybe you're a lawyer, you can buy specific keywords that people are searching for. And I want to make something really clear for your audience. You want to be as detailed as possible. You do not want broad keywords. You don't want to just put in lawyer or plumber, because that will be anybody who maybe wants to change a pipe in their house. Maybe the law search isn't as highly targeted as you want. So basically, Google has this really cool thing. You can do phrase keywords and exact match. So those are the keywords you want to focus on, because that will bring you the most relevant traffic.
So, and I think this is really important because I believe a lot of small business owners, especially when they're starting out, they want to go as broad as possible because they're looking for anybody to do business with, right? But what you're saying is you really need to niche down if you're going to be competitive and actually find the customers that are really, or the prospects that are really right for you.
Yep, absolutely. And I would first tell a business owner, if they started, who's currently your audience, who is buying your product, who is using your service. And from there, you can sort of build it out. For example, I do a lot of social media advertising for 5K races, specifically in Tampa and Sarasota, Florida. And we know exactly who our target audience is. It's called the Great Mother's Day Race. So we know exactly it's 35 to 42-year-old women who live within a 25-mile radius of Tampa Bay, Florida. And so that right there lets us focus exactly on who we want to target and put our money in the best place possible.
So I want to repeat that because I think it's really important. You're targeting a specific audience. When we say a specific audience, it's a certain demographic that you're really looking for. And the way you find that is you say, well, who are my current customers, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. And, you should have some historical data. If you have no sales, then it's going to be a little bit of trial and error. But what's great about any social media advertising is you can test it. You can create an ad for your 25 to 30-year-olds, your 30 to 40-year-olds, et cetera. You can use pictures that will hit who you want to reach. For example, if you want to hit 25 to 35-year-old people who are looking for homes, you may not want to show an image of a 65-year-old person.
Exactly.
It's just basically trying to understand who's going to buy and use your product.
Absolutely. One of the conversations happens a lot where should I actually go after keywords or should I target audiences? Because a lot of the social media advertising these days goes after audiences, whereas Google really goes after keywords. What do you recommend for small businesses?
If you have a limited budget, I recommend starting on Facebook. What I'm seeing is it's a cheaper cost per click. So depending on your industry, on Google, it may take $5 to $10 a click just to get somebody on your website. Whereas on Facebook, you can really dial in your audience, and the click is going to be a lot cheaper.
Now, we've also find a big emphasis this year on doing some kind of advertising on LinkedIn. In fact, with the show, we have the special offer. If you want to get a free $100 credit, you go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. For LinkedIn, you can also target audiences as well, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn advertising is amazing because you can target by industry, you can target by company size, you can target by the person with the education that you want, the number of years actually served. So if you don't want your ad going to that first year entry level person, it won't. But here's the key thing. LinkedIn is so expensive to advertise.
It's more expensive, so you got to make sure, right, you got to make sure that the cost of a lead really justifies what you're selling.
Exactly. If you're selling a $1,200 event ticket for a specialized audience, that might be the most perfect place to advertise.
Right.
If you're selling a $10 trinket, I would not recommend LinkedIn.
Right. That's why you have to really understand what your cost of acquisition is. Okay. So RJ, let's say you put together, you're targeting the right people. Then you really need to put together a compelling offer, right?
Sure. What's going to pique someone's interest? What's going to make someone call, click, or visit? So my suggestion would be, what kind of creative offer can you put in there? And I love your LinkedIn offer, by the way. That's awesome.
And so what do you suggest? What have you found in your experience really works?
Depends on the industry and what you're marketing. So, for example, I'm going to go back to the 5K races in Tampa. Basically, people love discounts. So we'll offer a 10 to 15% discount based on maybe it's Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, we did a 14% discount. So it's just thinking about timely things, tying it in, and giving somebody, for that audience, saving money is a big deal. So we give them a specialized time frame and a code to use, and people love it.
So, a lot of times you set up these campaigns, you can set up a certain number of dollars per day, right, over a certain period of time. Do you recommend spending more money per day or it going less money per day and going longer number of days?
That kind of goes back to what your goals are in the beginning. Say, for example, you need to hit your sales targets for Q1, and maybe your sales time is longer. So maybe you want to get those leads all in January rather than spreading it all over Q1. So I think just think about when you want the people to come to your site and, your overall budget.
So once I run the campaign, what should I look at so I can learn from it and have more success the next time?
One word, conversions. That's my favorite word of the day. You want to see for the clicks that came to your website or to your your landing page where you're selling something, you want to see, did somebody click, call, or visit? The visit is hard, but you can track calls, you can track clicks. Depending on the industry and what you're selling, you want to aim for a higher conversion. So the people that are clicking, if you want to sell one item and you convert, give or take 10%, you need to drive 100 people to your website.
So am I looking at cost of click, RJ? Say, listen, if my cost of acquisition is $10 and it costs me less than that to actually get a lead, then that's a good thing?
Yeah, look at cost per click, absolutely, but conversion is the best. So if you are able to accurately attribute that click to a sale, that's going to give you the best indication. The cost per click, is fine. $10, $20 click may be fine in your industry if it's driving the outcome that you want. Just saying, okay, this click is $2. That's terrible. It's high or it's low. It's all relative.
So, RJ, I think one of the critical questions for a lot of small business owners is that I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, right? When should you hire a digital marketing expert, and how do I afford one?
You need to hire a digital marketing expert when you want to make the jump to the big leagues. You have some money to spend. You want to attract more people to your business. Maybe something that hasn't been working in the past. Maybe you haven't been getting the calls that you once got. Yellow pages are gone. How are people finding you? So you want to make sure you're visible on all channels. I would say Google My Business listing, Bing Places for Business, Yelp. Those are all free listings. I would get your business up on day one on there, and that will improve your search engine optimization. It's super easy to hire a digital marketing expert to help work on your company. They're probably going to charge a monthly retainer and a percentage of ad spend, and then management fees. So it's all based on what you want.
So, RJ, what kind of budget do I really need to have if I'm going to work with a digital marketing expert?
I would say you would need a minimum. I mean, if you want a professional, you're going to need at least $500 to hire a company, and then any advertising spend on top of that. So, I would say if your business wants to get started in digital marketing, I would plan to have at minimum $1,000. And that would be for advertising, that would be for management, that would be for consultations, etc.
And I want people to understand that this is not just doing it for 1 month. I remember when I had my own business, we sold scientific software, and a lot of the people that own these companies, RJ, were very technical people, so they were very reticent to hire marketing folks. So I finally convinced this one company to hire a director of marketing. So I greeted Joe on the first day. Hey, congratulations, you're director of marketing for this new company. I called the next week to see how Joe was doing, and I got the founder on the phone, and Joe was fired. And I go, what happened to Joe? And the owner said, well, I tried it for a week. It didn't work out. That's not going to work with marketing, right? You got to have repetition. You got to be willing to doing this for several months at least, right?
Well, absolutely. And there's a statistic. There's no hard number on this, but they say it takes an average of 10 to 20 viewings of a brand, a product, a message before somebody buys. And that could be an interaction. It could be that quick Facebook thing you see in your feed. That could be an ad that you click on. So, 1 month isn't going to do anything, honestly. It'll get you up and running, sure, but you need to test creative, you need to test messaging, and that takes time. So I would suggest to your listeners, if we're thinking about getting into digital marketing, you need at minimum 3 months, but I would recommend 6 to 12 months of a fully thought out plan, that makes sense, and then you can really understand the outcomes.
It's called a strategy for a reason, right? It's not just, hey, let's try this day, let's try this another day. And remember, think about what your cost of acquisition really should be. So your cost of acquisition for a lot of small business owners is roughly 10% of whatever you sell that product for. So if you're selling a product for $100, you can afford to spend, say, $10 to acquire a prospect. But if you're selling something for $1,000, you can actually afford to spend $100 to acquire a customer. People have a tendency not to invest enough in marketing, especially early on, right?
That's correct. And actually, the Small Business Administration, this is coming from the U.S. government.
So it's got to be true, right?
That's right. There's no lies in the government.
Yeah, of course.
They suggest spending 6 to 10% of your gross income on marketing.
Yeah.
So it's just an idea. Obviously, people are going to spend more or less, but you need to spend money to make money.
Yeah, I think too many small business owners are kind of afraid to invest money in marketing, and then it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. They'll try it for a week or a month, and then when it doesn't work, it's like, well, I guess, I was right. I'm not going to spend money on that. So, RJ, this is great information. Where can people get in touch with you at HBT Digital?
Well, first, Barry, thanks for having me on and for the time. Visit hbtdigital.com. On Instagram and Facebook, it's at HB as in boy, HBT Digital Consulting. I'm based in Pittsburgh, love the Pittsburgh area, and I look forward to hearing from you.
All right, so is Ben Roethlisberger going to be back this year?
Yes, but he's not going to make it the whole season, and we have no plan after that.
It sounds kind of like the Bears in Chicago, so a lot of that going on. So I appreciate your time, RJ. Thanks for being on the show.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
This is AM 820 WCPT in Chicago. We'll be right back. Tune in regularly to my show, then you know that I talk to many different businesses across the country, different types of people, different backgrounds, all kinds of industries. But there's one thing that unites all of us, searching that thing known as work-life balance. I get pretty bummed out when a listener tells me that they haven't been home for dinner in a whole month. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to vCita. vCita does a lot for one little application. It can help you achieve that lifestyle. vCita is that personal assistant on steroids you never had. It syncs your client information, appointments, and payments. vCita sends automated appointments and payment reminders, making sure your clients keep appointments and get paid on time. vCita understands today's consumer, making it easy for them to book an appointment and pay from literally anywhere. A website, Facebook, emails, even your Google My Business profile. It's also compatible with Google, Gmail, iCal, social media, and Square Payments. So get your free 14-day trial during which you can explore every single feature. Go to vCita.com. That's VCITA.com. No credit card required, no strings attached, no brainer. And when you're ready to buy, use promo code Barry10 to get 10% off. Whenever I talk to a small business owner, I insist on one function they should always outsource, and that's payroll. You see, payroll is complicated, and both the employee and the government insist that you get it right. You see, when you do payroll, not only do you have to deduct money from the employee's paychecks to remit to the government, but as an employer, you need to add to it. Plus, you need to send this money to various government agencies on a regular basis, and if you don't do it, they will hold you personally liable for it. So this is one thing you gotta stop worrying about. That's why I recommend the new Square Payroll app. With this app, you can do everything from setting up an account to paying your team. It's fully integrated with Square payments and time cards for W-2 employees and contractors. Square takes care of your tax withholdings, payments, and filings at no extra cost. There is flexible and transparent pricing that scales with your business. So go ahead, search Square Payroll in the Apple iTunes or Google Play app stores to download this app, or visit www.square.com/go/SBR to learn more.
With Barry's 25 years in small business, he has finally discovered the magic formula to make more profit at any company. Business gurus make it seem so complicated, but it is really simple. The formula is P times P equals P, where people multiplied by process means more profit. Learn how you can take a quantum leap in just 180 days to grow the profit in your business. Contact Barry at Moltz.com.
Stick around to get your small business unstuck. More of Small Business Radio with Barry Moltz, now on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Well, most of the way that prospects will find your business on the internet is through search engine optimization. They're going to put in a keyword, and that's how they're going to find your business or not find your business. And remember, if you can't be found, you're never going to get chosen. Here to help is Chris Rogers, who's the founder and CEO of a specialized SEO agency called Colorado SEO Pros. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So for the people that are just getting up to speed, give us the definition of what search engine optimization is.
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO, or search engine optimization, is really the process of getting specific web pages in the search engines to rank highly in Google or other search engines in the free section or the natural section of search results. So that's typically right below the ads that people pay for.
Are there other search engines besides Google?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got newer ones like DuckDuckGo that people are going to, and you've still got Bing out there. It comes on a lot of Microsoft products. Google does command 90% of the global search market, so they're definitely the main player and the one that we follow.
So the idea is that when people go search for something on Google, you're going to come up on page one, because the old joke is, where's the best place to hide a dead body? It's on page 2, right?
Well, you're right in that a majority of all the search is happening on page 1, and then within page 1, you've got a majority of that's coming in those top 3 search results. So it's very important to be as prominent as possible there. And
Google actually is taking up a lot of that page 1 search through paid search or geographic search. So, you really got to be in the top 3 results.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of nuances there. So if you have a search term that has 50,000 search a month, you could still generate a significant amount of search being at the bottom of page one. But for most of the terms out there, it's really important to be at the top of the page.
So, Chris, what are some of the common mistakes that small business owners make when they're trying to improve their organic rank in search results?
You know, the first mistake that we see that's most common actually happens before people are really thinking about SEO, and that is waiting to put together an SEO strategy till after you've already designed or launched or relaunched a website. So this is something that needs to happen in the very early stages when you're really figuring out what you're building, and how you're positioning it.
And so what should that be?
I'm sorry?
What should that be? How do I put together? Yeah, how should I put together a search engine optimization strategy before I actually build my website? Where does that start?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it starts with a lot of research. So as an organization on our end, we have a lot of information that we're gathering from clients, right? So qualitative data around who their customers are, products and services, their unique value proposition. We're getting access to things like Google Analytics and Google Search Console, and we're pouring through a lot of data to understand how their customers are searching for them. And then based on that information, we'll put together a content strategy that makes sense based on who their customers are, and that is also backed up with real-life search data.
So you mentioned the word put together a content strategy, because that's really important, because in order to show up effectively on search, you need to have the right content, correct?
Correct.
So again, where does that start?
Well, it has to start in research and data, and then from there you go into a content planning process, right? So it gets a bit technical. But you need to look at the individual keywords that now you've identified based on who your customers are, your products and services. And then you need to gain an understanding of what the intent is behind those specific keywords. So specifically, different keywords will represent different intent from users. Some are more informational queries where people are looking for context around their problem. They're looking for information. Other things are more transactional. These are people that have already gone down to the bottom of the funnel. They've already done their research. They understand their problem, and now they're trying to actually make a purchase decision. So there's a lot of research. I mean, if you're, this is not an easy thing to do on your own.
Absolutely. Very difficult.
But, you can use Google itself is a great tool in private browsing to plug keywords in and look at those search results. It's going to tell you a lot about what those people were actually looking for. So if you are targeting certain keywords around what you do, look at the type of content that's appearing. Are those product service pages that are more transactional, or is it long-form blog content that is more informational? And you really want to match up the intent of those keywords with the type of content that you're publishing on your website.
You hear this a lot where, I want to make sure that my pages are search engine optimized. What does that mean, Chris?
Honestly, it's kind of an older school concept. So there are basic things we can do to make sure that the web page is crawlable, right? So we can submit individual web pages to Google if necessary. We can submit a sitemap, which is kind of like a map to Google that says, hey, here are all my pages. And then there's metadata that we can include in those pages that tells Google what those pages are about. All of those things are kind of best practices that can get you from maybe 0 to 1 or 0 to 3. Today, with the artificial intelligence and some of the systems that Google is using, you really have to dig a lot deeper into your customers and what they're looking for. So there's best practices, but ultimately there's not a, hey, let's just quote unquote optimize this page and then just see it rise to the top of search results.
So you say this is kind of like old school or just table stakes kind of thing. What is the newer things? What are the trends we're seeing out there in SEO that small business owners really should be aware of?
Yeah, there are some big ones out there. So, we have voice search is a huge trend that is growing right now. So ComScore predicted by the end of this year that I think up to half of all the searches that are being done out there on search engines are going to be through voice.
Wow.
Right? So that's a huge trend. That ties in very closely with the smart speaker adoption that is happening globally. And it is happening at a massive, massive rate. So people are very quickly learning how to speak to devices to seek out information. We also have a lot of artificial intelligence that is being used both on Google's side and also on the SEO side. So we have tools that we use that leverage artificial intelligence. We have our own proprietary software we've built out that leverages AI processed data. So the landscape is changing. The good news is that you don't have to, figure out all the ways that you're going to trick Google so that you appear at the top. What Google wants is for you to create content that helps serves your customers' needs, right? So if you invest the time into really trying to understand your customer, understanding the problems they have, the solutions that you can provide, and then create genuinely authentic, valuable content, you mix in a little bit of targeted SEO strategy where we're using data to apply that, then you can really be in a position where your goals and Google goals are aligned, right? And then when these algorithm updates do happen, if that's where you're pushing for, you're more likely to see an increase, right? If you're trying to game the system and maybe you're messing around with, buying backlink networks, or maybe you're, buying that too good to be true SEO option,
right, exactly,
guaranteed, for a cheap price, chances are those results are going to be short-lived.
Listen, I always say if it's too good to be true, Chris, it probably is. You mentioned voice search. And of course, I was one of the very early users of Alexa on Amazon. I mean, I love Alexa. She's always willing to talk to me, unlike my wife. But how is voice search different than when I'm typing things in? Isn't it the same?
Okay, so there's a lot of crossover, right? So if you're putting a conversational query into Google that you're typing out, like a how-to, you're typically going to see a lot of the same results that are appearing in Google search in the top 3. Those are often some of the same things that voice search is returning. So that's a really good point. There's a strong crossover. But there are voice search ranking factors that do have some nuances outside of regular search results, right? So I just mentioned top 3 rankings. If I was going to create a strategy around how am I going to rank in voice search, one of the first things I do is go look at all the keywords that I rank in the top 3 and identify which of those rankings might produce a rich snippet. That is this kind of special search result that appears ahead of the main results. It'll kind of look like an explanation instead of a traditional search result. Being in rich snippets is a big voice search ranking factor. Being in the top 3. Page speed, which is a big traditional factor, is also a factor that comes into play for voice search. Backlinks, that's a traditional SEO ranking factor, but that plays in as well. And there's data around this, right? So Microsoft has a study that they released over the last years, and several SEO organizations have released studies as well. So there are some nuances, but for the most part, if you're ranking really high in Google for regular search, Google also would think that you're probably a good result for voice search a large amount of the time.
But it's interesting. You're saying that they're different because the way that people search with their voice or using a voice assistant is different when they sit down at their mobile device or at their desktop searching for something when they're typing in. It's just we're doing differently. Perhaps we're using more words or phrasing it differently when we're using voice search.
Right. And so what's happening is this is dovetailing with Google's AI systems and their technology. So they've rolled out 3 major AI systems over the past, since like 2016. The most recent one is called BERT. It stands for Bidirectional Encoder Representation from Transformers. It's a mouthful, but ultimately that algorithm, that AI system, is all around natural language processing. So it allows Google to look at multiple words in a sentence as they relate to each other instead of just more of a linear fashion. So ultimately what this means is that Google is able to process more conversational queries from natural speech and understand the nuances within those searches, right? So things like prepositions that, while those words on their own don't have a lot of meaning, can completely change the context of a sentence. So Google is able to process it better, and this all comes back to Google understanding what is the intent behind that search, and how do I bring up and present the very best result based on that intent. So voice search is more about the way people are searching as opposed to a whole new school of SEO, if that makes sense.
Now, Chris, a lot of people are using Google Analytics, but should people also be trying to use Google Search Console or Google Data Studio? Those are kind of like the next levels up. What are they, and how should they be used?
Yeah, so Google Analytics is really a tracking platform, right? So you actually go in, you install it on your site, you've got a tracking code in every single page, and it's tracking the activity on your site. Google Search Console is actually a platform that is data that's being provided by Google, not tracked on your website. So Google's doing the tracking, and it's kind of a direct line into what Google is seeing. So Google Search Console is extremely important. And just like Google Analytics, if you're under a certain Google Analytics is free under a certain traffic amount. Google Search Console is free, and it's pretty easy to set up. And you'll be able to see which pages on your site are indexed. You'll be able to see keyword data. You'll be able to see, search impressions and traffic trends. So it's a very valuable tool with a lot of different features. And then Data Studio is really just a reporting tool. And I shouldn't say just a reporting tool because you can do a lot of different things with Data Studio. But that's actually what we use for our reporting. So our reporting that we send to our clients is live in the cloud, and our clients can access it anytime, and they can move around the dates, dig into data, almost like it's their own analytics platform. All three of those are fantastic tools, and the price is right.
Well, Chris, this is something that people have to dig a lot deeper into. Where can people get more information about the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is ColoradoSEOpros.com. And we do work with mostly, regional, national enterprise organizations, but we work with people across the country, right? So it's not just Colorado companies. On our website, we have information about our company. You can see case studies, and you can learn about us. In addition to that, in the footer of our website, there's a number of resources that we have for SEO news sites and reliable sources on SEO. So if you're looking for help with SEO, certainly we can help. We can provide a free audit. It's a good fit. We can work with you. If you're just looking to learn more on your own, maybe you don't quite have the budget, or you're not ready, or you just want to learn more, there's some links down there in the bottom of our footer that'll direct you to some safe places where you can get reliable information.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for being on our show. And I want to thank everyone for joining this week's radio show. I got to thank our sponsors, Nextiva, the all-in-one communications platform for your small business. I also want to thank LinkedIn, the place to generate leads, drive traffic, and build your brand awareness. For a free $100 credit to launch your campaign, go to www.linkedin.com/SBR. I also want to thank vCita, all you need to run your business in one software. Try for free at vCita.com. That's VCITA.com. And use the code Barry10 for an exclusive discount. I want to thank our incredible staff, especially our booking producer, Sarah Schafferin, our in-studio producer, Zoe, who's filling in for Lady B, our marketing manager, Courtney Gilchrist. If you're serious about being successful this year, you got to give me a call, 773-837-8250, or email me at barry@moltz.com. Remember, love everyone, trust a few, and paddle your own canoe. Have a profitable and passionate week.
You can find Barry Moltz on the web at barrymoltz.com, or more episodes of Small Business Radio at smallbizradioshow.com.